this process is about you going in, once again, being there for the child. But how you're there for this child is, we go in and we create some regulation in your nervous system. So, just get you like physically, physiologically relaxed. That takes us out of fight or flight. It helps us be grounded, helps us be wise. It puts us essentially into our adult, right? This is about then you kind of returning to a scene, right? But it's not regression because you're not going back to become the child. Okay, you're going back in your stable physiology as a fully grown, fully fledged, fully wise, fully connected woman to find that young version of you and say, come here, kid, you get behind my legs. I've got you. Now I need to speak to these people. So you freeze the memory of whatever's occurring and you get people to take a seat, and then you express what at a soul level, if it could have been expressed at the time, we're not furnished to be able to manage our boundaries to, but our soul had an aching desire to. So this is the iteration of what you would have said if you had the adult faculties and it was safe and you had the awareness and the boundaries. So it's about actually saying what should have been said had it been possible, which of course it couldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been safe, it wouldn't have been effective, and it wouldn't have been heard. So here we're recreating with your mind, essentially, we're stitching the field back with how it could have been, how it should have been, and how they will be able to hear it. And when it's expressed from that place of truth in you, it's an undeniable fact that transforms the listening. It's like it makes it heard at a soul level, and it sends a kind of healing shard of light from now to there. And at times, and this is where it gets slightly interesting in the kind of entanglement, but it's almost like at times when those things were going on, you might question, how did I find the strength to continue? How did I trust that something better was possible? It's almost like there was some line of faith or some line of belief that just we could tune into, that we knew made it worthwhile. And it's almost like this, what we're going to do is that lifeline. We're playing with that timeline. So it's you become the fairy godmother to that version of you who held out for something and felt there was something there of benevolence that was saying, you're going to make it through this and we're going to be okay. And that's you today. Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
So we're going to begin with just regulating your nervous system, and then we're just going to go and create space. Now, I've described it in that way, but of course, as always, you're the author of your own healing. Your soul has a much greater clarity. Your heart, your inner mind knows exactly what would serve you best. So we're going to create that parameter, and I'm going to give you options. And I just want you to give me permission to give you space to find your own way through that. So, the child, for instance, might be on your shoulders and not behind your legs, or you might want to put her in a safe box, which, you might want to, what, you can go and play in the garden. I'm going to speak to these people, however it plays out, but just hold the vibration that the people that you'll be speaking to will be able to hear you and understand that what they did was not okay. 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 So just take a moment just to close your eyes. But just before doing that, do I have your permission to lead you in this process?
Yes, please, with gratitude.
Thank you. Okay, so just take a moment to let go of a few deep breaths. And let's just set the intention that you're going to be an advocate for that young version of yourself who wasn't able to protect herself, not completely. And so bring your attention to your breathing, consciously choosing to slow your breath down, breathing out for longer than you would usually, and using any techniques that you have that enable you to drop very rapidly into relaxed physiology, where you know you are safe, where you're willing to feel any old feeling. And so just take a moment on your next out breath to consciously relax your jaw. And that allows your shoulders and your spine to relax. This is literally saying to your animal body, I'm safe. I'm choosing this. I'm authorizing this. I'm ready to support myself. I'm ready to establish my innocence at the deepest level. And so just noticing the sensations associated with that meditative relaxation. You may feel as though your limbs are feeling heavy and tired. You may feel as though you're kind of floating, like out and above and beyond the seeming perimeters of your form. However it appears for you, just notice what you notice. And anytime your mind wanders, just bring your attention to the last bit of air leaving your body at the end of your out breath. And the invitation is just to pause briefly before you breathe in. And then when you breathe in fully. And you savor the top of your breath for maybe 3 or 4 seconds before you breathe out. So you're consciously making each cycle of in and out breath last that little bit longer. Deepening that state of readiness. And looking forward to being an advocate for that younger version of you. But as with all these processes, it is also important to speak to the protector, the part of us that decides what we can and can't handle. Thanking the protector again for last week. It gave you access. And since has been bringing things to awareness that you have been able to meet with this understanding, with this presence, with this kindness. So kind of doffing your cap, acknowledging the protector, and letting that part of you know that you are ready and willing, and you authorize me to support you in this process. In a few moments, count down from 10 to 1 with each descending number, so you are able to go more deeply into a state of feeling safe and open and ready and willing. And so at the count of 1, you feel totally ready. 10. Just noticing the sensations of peace and heart openness, expanding. And 9. And 8. Seven. And 6. Just noticing, letting everything be exactly as it is, no attachment to outcome, just curious, present. And 5, halfway down, like feeling like a wise part of you is nodding their head in approval. 4. Three. And 2. And 1. Deeply, deeply connecting, heart open, ready, and willing. In this place, you are able to set the very clear intention that you, as an adult, will resource, support, protect any younger version of you in any memory or moment in time where you needed to be protected. This could be a big event, something significant, something you may have worked on many times before. It could also be something unusual or surprising or seemingly small. but there is no hierarchy and no necessary order. You will probably think of a few different things, and then one will stick. One will be, your soul will be like, this is where we're going. When you have a memory or a moment or an event in mind or in heart that you want to travel to, you can let me know by nodding your head or saying yes. Okay. Because you have chosen fully and you have authorized me completely, I invite you now to imagine that memory as though in front of you in a way where you, in a moment, you'll be able to step into it. It may already be forming around you, but you're able to pause it as you step into it. And so that you allow it to become real around you, but you remain in your adulthood, you remain in your fully formed, wise, connected, and safe physical form. You are safe. And you are able, with your sheer presence, to stop anything that is happening. You can literally freeze it, like a scene with which you have a remote control, or you can just magically pause it with your presence. And let us first turn to that young version of you and let them know that you are here to protect them. And they are able to take up a position with you where they feel completely protected. They might want to koala hug your front. They might want to be behind your legs, peering out at those other people who, by the way, it could be one person, could be two people, could be anyone you want, and it can change. You can pause them and you can place them tied up on the floor or in a chair, handcuffed, however you want and however you need. And it's not for you to feel safe as the adult. It's what would make her feel most secure, most safe. Ask. And then there is something that needs to be said or expressed. This is not about being reasonable or understanding or having a context what's occurred. This is about, as an advocate for this innocent soul, telling this person or these people that what they are doing or what they have done is not acceptable. It is not okay. It might feel like rage. It might feel like solid, absolute enlightened certainty. It can be expressed in any way you want. It does not need to be reasonable. You can destroy them. You have full permission to protect this young version of you in any way that you choose. You can turn them into dust, but they will hear you and they will understand the truth. So speak that on her behalf now to them. It doesn't need to be out loud. It can be, if you want, just journey in whichever way you see fit.
It's the back porch of my house where my dad and I would shuck corn and bond and do projects together out in like the setting sunlight. And one time when I was 12 or 13, I came home from staying out all night, and my dad was sitting on the porch with a chair and a clipboard and read me the riot act, and I was grounded for the whole summer, rightfully. But that's not the scene I saw. I saw the back porch when my parents got divorced and told us they were getting the divorce when I was 16. My dad was sitting on the back porch. I think he had just finished shucking corn. And I came and sat beside him where we usually bonded. And in that moment, I said, "Do you want to go see Jesus Christ Superstar at the high school play," which was our thing, that musical? And he said, "No, I don't feel like it. I don't really feel like doing things like that in this time of divorce." that's where I went to for some reason.
Hmm.
And what I see is me now picking up the 16-year-old me and somehow putting her on my lap and putting my arms around her.
Hmm.
And then I'm the one sitting on a chair with a clipboard, and my dad is standing 2 or 3 stairs below me
Hmm.
and I'm about to do what he did for me when I came home and I was way wrong.
Hmm. So he's way wrong now.
Yeah.
So you get let him have it.
Yeah. You know what you're doing to this young, virginal teenage girl right now by saying no in this moment, by taking the bond that you have and saying, I don't value it anymore, saying, in this fork in the road where you could honor what has been a trajectory of sacredness between the two of you in every way, and instead saying, I don't choose that anymore, you are destroying her belief in sacredness. You are saying when it gets hard and muddy and gray and unsure and tragic and hurtful, you turn away from the bond, not towards it. You're destroying any chance she has of believing someone could lean in when it gets hard. And you're gonna go and try to show up for her volleyball games and things in the future, but she's not even gonna see it because you're breaking her heart right now. In this choice, you are basically saying that everything that became before doesn't hold any medicine for us. It doesn't hold any medicine for us.
Take some time with your 16-year-old because you're articulating something she couldn't even understand. She knew something terrible was happening, but she now gets you get how bad it is. She hadn't even realized how bad it was. She just thought it sucked. This goes on to cause so much trouble and so much pain. So you have to be with her now so she can feel at the 16-year-old level actually what happened and how it's cursed you.
So the terror of the sacredness,
This is the tear of the sacredness. Feel that tear. Feel it in your body.
gut-wrenching, heartbreaking,
Heartbreaking.
terrifying,
Faith questioning. Faith destroying.
trust destroyed.
Yeah. You
The
won't.
feeling that when it's hard, we'll turn towards family.
Yeah.
No, it's when it's hard, we'll tear a family apart.
Yeah. There may well be a kind of expression like I can feel a kind of noise in you if you feel sick to give it like
Just like a guttural feeling of like,
yeah,
oh, it hurts.
yeah, I feel it. It's really strong. So you can just whatever you need right now, just take it. Just take it.
It just hurts. It just like hurts so much. Makes me feel like an animal, just like broken in the corner, just like in like primal pain. It just feels primal.
And spiritless, right? That one is spiritless, like yeah. feeling it. Take as much time as you need. Just keep feeling it.
It feels like a tear that's like as big as the universe. It doesn't feel small. It
No,
feels like the
it's
fabric of the entire universe.
well, it was a tear of the fabric of your entire universe. It was. It is.
My universe.
Yeah. Now you like wrap your arms around her on your lap, and then you eyeball him as he's watching what he's done. He's actually watching what he's done. This is the truth that you couldn't express or articulate yourself or to him. Now look, he's now hearing it. He's now hearing it. And this is when you would look him in the eyes as the adult, whilst you continue to feel her inside you and that rip inside you. And this is you look him in the eye, and it might be as simple as like, you're a fucking idiot. Could just be, it could be even just a look, like, look what you've done. Breathe. We don't want it to be true. We ultimately just don't want it to be true that they're that stupid and that it does that much damage, but they are, and it has.
I'm just seeing him look shocked and taking it, and then I'm just letting him take it in.
Yeah, which is enough for him, I'm sure.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel like there's words, like he's just
Yeah,
witnessing.
he's getting the truth right now. Just let
He's
it,
just getting the truth.
yeah.
I'm gonna see some sort of like dawning realization on him. First, he looked horrified, and it just looked like his eyes were darting around trying to understand it and check his premises and check his actions. And there's some sort of dawning realization. I kind of see him shaking his head and just being like, geez.
Well, this is where there was space for him from a place of enlightenment and understanding of the truth, where you may hear him express to you what he would naturally had he had the awareness and the truth that he now has. Could be an apology, could just be an acknowledgement. Take some time to get what you need here.
I just feel him saying, like, I was like in my early 30s, I just didn't know what to do. I just didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to do this. And I was in my 30s and you were a teenager. I should have done better. I'm sorry. I connected with myself more than you at that time. And I thought I was doing right by you by just telling you the truth of what I felt. But you didn't need the truth of my reality. You needed me to be your dad and protect you and connect with you and ask you what you needed.
Yeah.
and I failed you, and I failed myself. And if I could go back and do it all over again, I could let you know that I was really struggling and that you were more important than my inner struggle, that your vocalized requests should have snapped me out of it into connection rather than pushing you away. That I could have let our bond continue to be the medicine instead of severing it. It was a sabotage.
You were collateral damage to his closing down heart.
Yeah, you sabotaged your sweet and giving and generous and connecting nature because I was imploding. And I'd rather cut off the goodness that you are than let my heart feel it because I was going to have to move to another city away from you.
Oh,
And I was going to miss you.
yep.
And I was never going to live with you again. And I was never going to have that sweetness and connection on a day to day. So better to cut it off and protect myself.
Yep. And this is a rift in the field. It's one of the biggest costs of divorce. Men love their kids so much that they cannot bear to be away from them. So the only way they can handle it is they close down their heart and then they lose the kid, the connection. It's the worst. It's the worst choice and it's wrong and it's awful. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation, but it's an important explanation because it was not a lack of love. It was actually too much love. It hurt too much. So he made an idiot choice, but not because he didn't love you, not because he didn't value, but because the connection was so painful not to have it all the time that he had to cut it away.
And you set it up that every single man for the next 30 years of this girl's life was going to do the same. Every single one loved her with everything he had, wanted to marry her. She was the one. His dream come true. It made him love more than anything he'd ever felt in his life. Every single one of them, and every single one of them cut her off, sabotaged, shut her down in any cruel way that would make her go away. Over and over again. Over and over again. Finding false fault in her, turning towards someone or something else, overworking, anything to not let in the love that she is. It got set up that day
Yeah.
and replicated through 100 men for decades, almost destroying her and making her want to die and not be here. Because it was from no fault of her own.
No fault of her own. That's it. Let your 16-year-old hear it. And not even from a lack of love on his part. No fault. No fault. Hold her tight now, because that makes it almost worse. It was never your fault. It was never your fault. It wasn't even a lack of love.
The only fault was her being so loving towards men that could handle
Couldn't handle it.
it.
And all the while, she's been in there in the middle of all of those other rejections, just wondering, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? And you can succinctly and clearly in every single way hold her now so that she really understands it really was not at all. what you've known to be true for a while, as confusing as it's still been. But she hasn't. It's been scary and eerie for her because she saw it as actually a lack of love. She didn't understand.
All she's known is to reach out and love and be cut off and lashed out at for it,
Yeah,
projected on
yeah.
by terrified men.
Who were just sabotaging. The quality of love was too bright and bringing all their unlovability, all of their parents' failings, all of their mother's failings. You had to be the compliment that was pushed away. You had to be the love that was pushed away.
I've been the love that's pushed away my whole life.
Yeah.
I've just been pure love pushed away my whole life. I just want to say to her, don't stop being pure love.
Yeah.
And don't just think because you have been in this like gross muddy river trying to sail your boat that there's not clean, beautiful freshwater rivers elsewhere. Like, don't give up.
On the soul level, though, your soul has wanted to recreate this so that you could find her, so that you could find her, because she's been suffering in the middle of this pain. You've been able to articulate her for what she felt, you know? It's complicated. She knew some tear of great consequence was occurring, but she simplified it. It was so deep and dark because of the impact it was going to have on you. You couldn't possibly have known. She would have been left behind. And so you've had to be in that muddy water so that you could circle around and find her and restore her innocence at the deepest level. And so this latest failed relationship, you described it as a tear. It felt like a tear. And here we were finding this tear. It's like he was there to enable you to find this. These repeated patterns were laid down there, but each one was also an invitation to find her. And it's not like you haven't been looking. You've done loads of work. But just you need time to invite her to integrate into your form, to become one with you, to become whole with you, to become fully woman with you. Where she sees, wow, you really know what I'm feeling. You can articulate what I'm feeling. You can be boundary what I'm feeling. And in this innocence for her and for you, you can recognize the deepest innocence so that you can love like purely and deeply without reservation. Again, knowing that it can and will be different. And that you can even love without it even needing to be different. You don't love on condition that people will be a certain way. This is unconditional love. You don't love people because they'll be able to meet you. You love people because of who you are.
And when they sabotage or lash out or fabricate in order to push me away, it won't be another tear. It will be information for me to go, they're not ready for me and to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But still lovingly.
Yeah.
It'll be information rather than I'll pivot away from consciousness and not crisis, a mismatch, not a re-traumatization.
Yeah. So make her a deal. Make her that promise that you can have choice. It may even be that you'll find someone with a mainly ironed out sabotage pattern. So when they sabotage, you'll spot it, you'll work them through it, and you guys can be fine. But the point is you'll have choice and you won't take it personally. And that she's been seeking a repeat of this pattern so that she could finally understand what the hell happened. You don't need to do that anymore. You don't need that. So you've processed the shock from before. Now you're processing this pattern that in difficult moments they turn away. No, he did. She was uniquely let down. And whilst it's common, and it's particularly common in men who are separating and divorcing, the pain is so great that they don't get to live with the children that they love, that they cut them out. It happens so commonly and it's awful.
I see me and my dad hugging
Oh, yeah.
with understanding and love.
Yeah.
He's like, I never wanted to be away from you.
No.
He moved to another city with
Well,
a lamp he still has.
huh,
He
well,
has his grandmother's black and white TV that doesn't work on his desk. He doesn't want to be away from the people he loves.
no, of course not.
He's had to be, so he protects himself.
Yeah, he closed his heart. He did the masculine thing. You were collateral damage. It was not personal to you at all.
It's all I've ever known. I've never known. I've never been with someone that doesn't love me more than they ever thought they could love someone or want to be with me more than anyone else ever,
Mm,
ever. And I've never been with someone that doesn't sabotage it,
yeah.
ever.
Mm,
In so many forms.
yeah.
And a lot of that sabotage has been tearing me apart to make me not perfect and lovable in ways that make no sense.
Yeah. And so just taking a moment to kind of apologize to your, like at the soul level to yourself for those very understandable moments when you doubted yourself, in the shock, in the surprise, in the repeating pattern of it. Even in all of the work that you did to fix this problem that was not there, but just this pain that was too much. It wasn't even that it was too much to bear, it was that you didn't have the articulation to be able to name it, the vocabulary for it emotionally, to be able to find it and touch it and feel it.
Feels like I accepted quite a while ago that it isn't me. And I feel like since accepting that, I still open and get torn apart by their sabotage.
Yeah.
Simply in the shock part. I know it's not true when they turn and say something like you cheated because I don't do that.
Yeah.
Or, you're after my money, which I know isn't true. One person said that,
Yeah.
um, or trying to manipulate me, which
Yeah.
I don't do that. But every single one of them, his mother manipulated him. His mother was a gold digger. His
Yeah.
mother was
Of course.
everything they ever blamed me for was never what I am, but what their mother
In
did to
your
them.
pure light, the contrast between you and their mother will become apparent, and they will hate you for that difference. They will feel in you a quality of love, and it will distinguish what was lacking in their mothers. And that's a very uncomfortable place for an awful lot of people. And so let's just take a slightly more universal perspective that you have been charged with this soul's journey. Your soul obviously chose to bite off a lot. It's a lot to chew. It's a lot to go with it. And it's been a huge thing. And the challenge is a lot of those people didn't bounce off you and then suddenly get the clarity. Some will have, many won't. But you played a part in the seeding of an expansion of awareness through all of this pain. And so I think it's almost like I feel like the universe wants to say to you, thank you for all of the work. But you're able to say, I've now paid my dues. I've been a vessel for this healing. And now I'm ready to enter into a new chapter. I deserve it. And I choose that. And I let go of this pattern. And I recognize this pattern was not just for the benefit of those relating to me and their healing, whether they were listening or not, but it is also for me to have the opportunity to find my 16-year-old today and the shock from the other day and any other parts that want to come to the surface, so that you can find some gratitude for all of it somewhere, and for the peace that you can now bring, and for the love that you can now be, and for the relationships that you can now enjoy. which is your natural state being restored. It's not being fixed.
I was just taking my boat into a clear river, not a muddy river.
Beautiful.
I just see how muddied when my dad was in that moment on
Mm,
the porch.
yeah,
And what a beautiful, pristine sailboat I was offering to put in his water.
yeah,
I mean, that's when I visually see the dynamic. It's this beautiful sailboat that they want to sail in this muddy water that they just see mucking up the sailboat, so they reject it.
yeah. So just take a moment to picture that sailboat as you are. So make it, large enough and comfortable enough. It's not a solo vessel. So putting some beautiful fruits and delicious foods and wonderful things to share and make it super comfy and delicious.
It's really a luxury liner.
I'm getting that sense.
Yeah, it's really a cruise ship.
Mm. So allow that 16-year-old and any parts of you to kind of integrate into your heart, into your body, into your soul. Letting them be a true part of your timeline with the deepest understanding that any limiting beliefs formed at that time are dissolved, and your innocence and your value and your belief restored. So just taking a moment to kind of hug yourself, but also pat yourself, just to it's like to kind of imprint your adult form, your whole form. It's like, yes, I'm whole and complete and full and safe. I release any patterns that no longer are a reflection of who I truly am and what I truly have to offer and what I'm deeply ready to receive. Just thanking your protector for giving you access and your soul and working so beautifully. Blessing all involved. And then when you're ready, just bring this to a close. You can just gently open your eyes.
Oh, oh, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
I remember that day so well, and I remember when he said, I just don't feel like it. I just don't want to go see that play. But I remember what I did is I felt the most mature adult version of me ever.
Mm,
And I was like, I understand.
mm.
That's my memory. It was a bonding moment.
Isn't it interesting, right? Like we talked earlier about, that you were beaten by a biological father, you've had sexual assault, all of that stuff. And I don't want to dismiss any of the extraordinary trauma and the difficulties and all the incredible work that has to be done on that stuff. And then sometimes it's a moment, it's a memory where we actually felt pretty good about ourselves, being pretty understanding. And actually,
Totally.
you actually, what happened was like your faith in love was ruptured that day in the most profound way. And it was, you know, it wasn't a big T trauma moment. It was a little T trauma moment, but it was one of the biggest foundational formative moments in your kind of intimacy relating reality.
In my memory, it's one of the most bonding part of my parents' divorce.
Fascinating. They're the
Yeah.
sneakiest ones to find, right? They're the trickiest ones to find because
I was really surprised when that came up, but I stayed with it. And
mm, yeah,
my boat has just been looking for muddy rivers ever since and being devastated when I can't sail.
yeah,
It's been tragic for everyone. Tragic for them to love me so much and just see them destroy me.
yeah,
Yeah, it's been tragic for everyone.
yeah, yeah.
I have said for ever, every man loves me so much. It's never that they don't love me.
Mm,
And I've said for 8 years since my marriage ended, my neighbor said, "You don't have a relationship problem, you have a selection problem."
mm,
And I've always known I choose, my picker is wrong. I
mm.
have a heat-seeking missile for the one that will appear to not be that and will end up being that no matter what. And it's crazy making.
Yeah, of course. And super common. Super common. Like it plays out in so many relationships and repeats in so many relationships.
The
Uh,
main thing I've been able to see is men say to me at the end when they break it, when they sabotage it, the only thing I've been able to know is that they do, that they cut it off in the most aggressive, make it go away possible. Like I'm like the puppy dog they kick in the face to make sure that dog doesn't want to come back. And that the way they do it is always a projection of the exact primordial womb of their mother wound, because none of them apply to me and all of them are only directly relatable to their mother. That's I've seen that for 8 years.
yeah, yeah. And all that awareness is very difficult to resolve it, because we can't find the parts. And so blessings upon what you just did. And thank you so much for
Thank you.
that and being willing to be seen. And I think anyone watching this, I'm inviting them to send you love and gratitude right now, energetically, and because what you're doing is helping people understand how this process works. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And hopefully, it encourages people to realize that whilst it can be really painful, and I hope you confirm this, when we access that kind of pain, it's really painful, but it also feels immediately like a relief. Like in the middle of it, it's like, oh, it's good to hit this stuff and to find it, right? It's emotional, but God, it's like when I know I've got something going on, and because you're disproportionately overreacting to something or disproportionately underreacting to something, I know something's at play, and I know there's another piece. Sometimes it's big things, sometimes it's seemingly small things that are actually huge things. But every time I get in there, if it's emotional, maybe I'm angry, maybe I weep, maybe I wail. Ah, it's just the return of truth and innocence and understanding and freedom. And it's the dissolving of beliefs and behaviors that have been a gravitational field for pain. So I know that every release like that is liberating and will be reflected externally. So for those of you watching it, I know that might not have looked like a lot of fun, but to me, this is the most fun you can have. Clearing these things is it's what Socrates meant when he said an unexamined life is no life at all. It's only when we go on these journeys to explore who we are and how we've become who we are, do we have a chance of becoming who we were truly born to be. Thanks, Sophia. We'll speak
Thank you
soon.
so much. So, so, so grateful. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
I do.